I didn't expect to fall in love again at 60. In fact, I had already made peace with the idea that I wouldn't. My life had become quiet, predictable, safe. Morning tea alone, slow walks, evenings with old memories that came and went like soft waves. It wasn't exciting, but it was stable. And after everything I had been through, stability felt enough. Then he walked into my life. His name was Leonard. I remember the first time I saw him. It wasn't dramatic. No music, no sudden feeling. He was just sitting there in a waiting room, reading a newspaper, like any other man his age. But there was something about him, calm, steady, almost familiar. A few minutes later, he looked up and caught me glancing at him. Instead of looking away, he smiled. Not a bold smile, not a charming one, just a gentle acknowledgement. "Long wait today," he said. I nodded. It always is. That was it. A simple conversation that should have ended there, but it didn't. We started seeing each other often after that. Not intentionally at first, just small coincidences. The same grocery store, the same park bench, the same pharmacy. Eventually, it didn't feel like coincidence anymore. It felt like routine, and routines have a way of bringing people closer. He wasn't like other men I had known. He didn't try to impress me, didn't speak too much, didn't make promises. He just showed up. And sometimes that's enough. Maybe you understand that feeling, when someone's presence alone starts to mean something. We began talking more, slow conversations, careful ones. At our age, people don't rush into things. We carry too many memories, too many lessons, too many quiet fears. He told me he had lost his wife years ago. "I learned how to live with silence," he said once. I didn't respond right away, because I had lived that same silence, even while being married. My marriage hadn't ended with anger, it ended with distance, a slow fading of connection until there was nothing left to hold on to. So when Leonard spoke about loneliness, I felt it, not just heard it. That's how he got close to me. Not through charm, not through big words, but through shared emptiness. We started meeting regularly. Morning walks became longer, conversations became deeper. Sometimes we would just sit together without speaking, and it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt peaceful. And peace can feel like love when you haven't had it in a long time. One evening, we sat watching the sunset. He looked at me and said quietly, "Do you ever feel like time is running faster now?" I smiled a little. "All the time." He nodded. "That's why I don't want to waste what's left." I didn't say anything, but I understood what he meant. A few days later, he came over for tea. We sat across from each other, just like always. Then suddenly, he said something that changed everything. "I don't want to be alone anymore." His voice wasn't emotional. It was calm, certain. "I don't want to spend whatever time I have left waiting." I felt my chest tighten a little, because those words, they weren't just his, they were mine too. He looked at me carefully. "We understand each other," he said. "That doesn't happen often, not at our age." I should have taken more time. I should have asked more questions. I should have looked deeper, but I didn't. Because when you've been alone for so long, understanding feels like something rare, something you don't want to lose. So when he asked me if we could build a life together, I said yes. Not after months, not after years, just yes. Maybe you're wondering why. Why would someone my age take such a risk? The truth is simple. Loneliness changes you. It makes you believe that even a small chance at companionship is worth everything. So I didn't think about the future. I didn't question his past. I didn't notice the small things that didn't quite feel right. I only saw what I wanted to see. The beginning felt calm. He moved into my home slowly, respectfully, like someone who didn't want to disturb anything. At first, it felt comforting. There was someone in the kitchen in the morning, someone sitting across from me at dinner, someone breathing in the same quiet house that had been empty for years. But slowly, something began to shift. It wasn't sudden. It never is. It started with small things. He stopped asking questions. The man who once listened so carefully became quieter, distant in a way I couldn't explain. If I spoke, he would nod, but his eyes, they didn't stay on me the same way. At first, I told myself it was normal. People change when they get comfortable, I thought. Maybe you've told yourself that too. But deep inside, I felt something else, something I couldn't name yet. One night, I tried to talk about it. "You've been quiet lately," I said gently. He looked at me, almost confused. "I've always been like this," he replied. That answer didn't sit right with me, because it wasn't true. But I didn't argue. I didn't question it further. Instead, I stayed silent. And that was the moment things really began to change. Not when he became distant, but when I chose not to see it. Maybe you understand this part the most. When something feels wrong, but you ignore it because you're afraid of losing what you just found. I told myself everything was fine. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself this was just how life looks at 60. But I was wrong. Very wrong. And I didn't know yet that saying yes to him would become the biggest mistake of my life. The change didn't happen overnight. If it had, maybe I would have seen it clearly. Maybe I would have stopped everything before it went too far. But no, it came slowly, quietly, like a shadow that grows without you noticing. At first, it was small things. Leonard stopped joining me for our morning walks. "I'm tired today," he would say. At 60, that sounded reasonable, so I didn't question it. Then it became a habit. Days passed, then weeks. I started walking alone again, just like before he came into my life, only this time it felt different. Before, I was used to being alone. Now, I was feeling alone, even when I wasn't. That's a very different kind of loneliness. Maybe you know what I mean. Living with someone, but still feeling unseen. We still had meals together, but something had changed there too. He no longer asked about my day. No more small conversations. No more gentle curiosity. Just quiet dinners. The kind where you hear the sound of spoons more than voices. One evening, I tried again. "I was thinking of visiting my daughter next week," I said, hoping to start a conversation. He nodded without looking up. That was it. No questions, no interest. It felt strange. This was not the man who once listened to every detail of my life. But again, I told myself, maybe this is just how things settle. Maybe I was trying too hard to keep something alive that was already fading. Then came something I couldn't ignore: money. It started with small requests. "Can you handle the groceries this week?" he asked one day. Of course, I said yes. It wasn't a big deal. Then it became regular. Then it became expected. Bills started coming to me. Electricity, gas, even small repairs around the house. At first, I thought maybe he was just going through something. I didn't want to make it uncomfortable, so I paid, quietly, without asking questions. But deep inside, something started to bother me. One afternoon, I finally asked, "Leonard, are things okay financially?" He paused for a moment, then gave a small smile. "Just a temporary situation," he said. "Nothing to worry about." Temporary. That word gave me comfort. Or maybe I just wanted it to. Weeks passed. Nothing changed. If anything, it got worse. He stopped offering anything at all. Not just money. Effort, presence, care. He spent more time alone, in the other room, watching television, sitting in silence. Sometimes, hours would pass without a single word between us. It felt like I was living with a stranger, but a stranger who knew everything about me, and that made it even harder, because I had opened my life to him, shared my past, my fears, my quiet pains, and now I felt exposed. One night, something small happened, but it stayed with me. I had made his favorite dinner. I remembered the way he used to smile when I cooked it, so I tried again, hoping maybe things would feel like before. We sat down. I placed the plate in front of him. He looked at it, then said, "You used too much salt." That was all. No thank you, no smile, just that. I don't know why, but that moment hurt more than anything else. Not because of the food, but because of what it showed. The warmth was gone, completely. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and continued eating. But inside, something started to break. Slowly, quietly, just like everything else. Maybe you've had a moment like that, when you realize things are not what they used to be. But you still stay, because leaving feels harder than staying. That's where I was, stuck between truth and hope. Then came the night I couldn't ignore anymore. It was late. I woke up to the sound of him talking, softly, in the other room. At first I thought I was imagining it, but then I heard it again. A whisper, a laugh, a tone I hadn't heard from him in weeks. Warm, alive. I got up slowly. My heart felt uneasy. I walked toward the door and paused. Something inside me didn't want to hear what was on the other side, but something stronger needed to know. I stood there for a moment, then I moved closer, and what I heard next changed everything. I didn't open the door right away. My hand was there, resting on the handle, but I couldn't move. There are moments in life when you already know the truth before you see it, and somehow that truth feels heavier than anything else. I stood there, listening. His voice was soft, warm, the same warmth he no longer had for me. He laughed quietly. "I miss you too," he said. Those 4 words, they went straight through me. Not loud, not dramatic, but sharp, very sharp. I felt something drop inside my chest, a slow, sinking feeling. Maybe you felt it before, when something inside you breaks, but nothing around you makes a sound. I should have walked away. I should have pretended I heard nothing, but I didn't. I opened the door, slowly. He turned around immediately. The look on his face, I will never forget it. Not guilt, not shock, just annoyance. Like I had interrupted something important. He quickly ended the call. "It was nothing," he said before I even asked. Nothing. That word again. I looked at him, really looked this time. And for the first time, I didn't see the man I thought I knew. I saw distance, coldness, a stranger. "Who was that?" I asked quietly. He sighed like I was being difficult. "A friend. Just a friend." At this age, we both knew what that meant. But still, I gave him a chance. Maybe you understand that too. Even when the truth is right in front of you, you still ask questions, hoping for a different answer. "A friend you miss?" I said gently. He didn't respond right away. Then he shrugged. "You're overthinking." Those words, they hurt more than the truth would have, because they made me feel small, like my feelings didn't matter, like I was imagining everything. I nodded slowly, and I walked back to the bedroom. But I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring into the dark, thinking, replaying every moment, every conversation, every small change I had ignored. And suddenly, everything started to make sense. The silence, the distance, the lack of care. It wasn't just comfort. It wasn't just age. It was choice, his choice, and maybe my mistake. The next morning, I woke up with a strange calmness. Not peace, just clarity. I made tea like always, set 2 cups on the table. He came in, sat down, picked up his cup, like nothing had happened. That was the moment I realized something important. He didn't think he had done anything wrong, or maybe he didn't care. "Leonard," I said softly. He didn't look up. "We need to talk." He sighed again, that same tired, dismissive sigh. "About what now? About what now?" I repeated those words in my mind, and suddenly I felt something shift inside me. Not pain this time, strength, quiet, but real. "About us," I said. He finally looked at me, and for a moment, there was something in his eyes, not love, not regret, just calculation. "Look," he said, leaning back, "I didn't think you'd make this a big deal." A big deal. I felt my hands tighten slightly around my cup. "You're talking to someone else," I said calmly. "It's just conversation," he replied quickly. "Nothing serious." Nothing serious. Another familiar phrase. "Then why hide it?" I asked. He didn't answer that. Instead, he said something else, something that changed everything. "You're not easy to live with either." I froze. Not because it was true, but because of how easily he said it. Like he had been waiting to say it. Like this was all my fault. Maybe you know that feeling. When someone turns the situation around so quickly, you start questioning yourself. For a moment, just a moment, I almost believed him. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe... No. Something inside me stopped that thought. Finally. "No," I said quietly. He looked surprised. "No?" he repeated. "No," I said again, this time stronger. "I am not the problem." The room went silent, a different kind of silence. Not empty, not cold, but clear. For the first time, I wasn't trying to hold things together. I wasn't trying to understand him. I was finally seeing him. And what I saw was not love. It was convenience. He stayed because it was easy, because I made life comfortable, because I didn't ask too many questions, until now. "I think you should leave," I said. The words came out softer than I expected, but they were steady. He stared at me. For a second, I thought he might argue, defend himself, apologize even. But he didn't. He just leaned back and nodded slowly. "Maybe that's best," he said. No fight, no emotion, nothing. And somehow, that hurt the most, because it meant I had never really mattered, not the way I thought I did. He stood up, walked away, and just like that, it was over. Years of loneliness, followed by a short moment of hope, ended in silence again. But this silence felt different, heavier, colder, real. I sat there for a long time after he left the room, not crying, not angry, just still, trying to understand how I had missed all the signs, how I had given someone access to my life without truly knowing who they were. Maybe you're asking yourself the same question. How does this happen? The answer is simple. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, in small moments you ignore, in feelings you push aside, in truths you don't want to see. And by the time you finally see everything clearly, you're already hurt, deeply. He packed his things that same afternoon. No arguments, no long conversations, just quiet movements, like he had done this before. Maybe he had. I didn't ask. I didn't follow him from room to room. I stayed in the kitchen, sitting at the same table where I once believed I had found a second chance. It's strange how quickly a place can change. The same walls, the same chairs, the same light coming through the window. But everything felt different, empty again. But not the peaceful kind of empty I once knew. This was heavier, like something had been taken, not just left. At one point, he walked past me with his bag. He paused for a second. I thought maybe he would say something, anything, an apology, a goodbye that meant something. But all he said was, "Take care." 2 simple words after everything. I nodded. I couldn't speak. And then he left, just like that. The door closed and the house fell completely silent. I sat there for a long time, not moving, not thinking, just sitting. Maybe you've had a moment like that, when something ends and you don't even know how to react, because the pain is too quiet, too deep. That night, I didn't turn on the lights. I let the darkness fill the room. It felt honest, more honest than anything I had lived in the past few months. I thought I would cry, but I didn't, not right away. Instead, I started remembering every small moment, every sign I had ignored. The way he slowly stopped asking about me, the way I started giving more and receiving less, the way I felt alone, even when he was sitting right in front of me. And the truth became very clear. This didn't start when I heard that phone call. It didn't even start when he became distant. It started the moment I ignored my own feelings, the moment I chose comfort over clarity. Maybe you understand this more than anything else. Sometimes the biggest mistake is not the person we choose. It's the silence we keep inside ourselves. Days passed. The house slowly returned to its old rhythm. Morning tea alone, quiet afternoons, long evenings. But something had changed in me. I was still alone, but I wasn't ignoring myself anymore, and that made all the difference. One afternoon, I was sitting by the window, watching people walk by, couples, families, life moving forward. And for the first time, I didn't feel left behind. I felt aware of what I deserve, aware of what I allowed, aware of what I will never accept again. Maybe love at 60 is still possible. Maybe companionship can still happen, but not at the cost of your peace, not at the cost of your self-respect. That's something I learned too late, but still in time, because even at this age, we are still learning, still growing, still choosing. If I could say one thing to you, gently, from my heart, it would be this. Do not ignore the small signs. Do not silence your instincts. And do not accept half love just because you are afraid of being alone. Because loneliness with peace is far better than company with pain. I gave him a chance at 60, and yes, it became my biggest mistake, but it also became my biggest lesson. And maybe, just maybe, that lesson saved the rest of my life.